All right, my friends, today we are going to roll up our sleeves and get messy because we're going to start the first day of our paper mache ice cream cones. Okay, so we're going to do two super important things in one day, so we really need to be proactive with our time. So we are going to create the ice cream, the structure of it, tape it down, and then we're also going to do the paper mache. So I'm going to go ahead and demo the steps today. The first thing you're going to do is take a paper cup and a piece of paper. We need to create like the rim of the ice cream cone base, what would be the base of the cone. So you're going to take a piece of scratch paper, don't worry about what's on it. You're going to create a fold of about maybe an inch thick and continue to roll that neatly, making sure that the two sides are remaining even. You're folding evenly. Okay, created my roll. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some tape and I'm going to tape it so it is secure on my ice cream, the rim, the top of my ice cream cone. So take my fold. I'm simply going to wrap it around. You don't need to worry too much what it looks like from here because, again, you're going to be paper macheing over the top of it. So creating that. Okay, folding that down. Then you're going to want to take like one or two small pieces of tape. And you're going to want to secure it. Get it as close to the top edge as you can. Secure it maybe one or two times. All right, good. Step one. All right, the next step is to fill the base of the cone and start building the wads of paper to create one or two layers. Can't do any more than two because then it becomes too heavy at the top when we start applying the mache solution and the ice cream cone won't stand upright. So two maximum. You're going to take scratch paper. This is just big butcher paper. Scratch paper, wad it up. We need to create the base. Okay. All right. So now that I have, you want to fill it even to the top. So now I can build upon it. So now I'm going to create two round wads of paper. All right, there's one. So now you're going to go like this. It's going to fall apart. So as you go, so you're going to take a long section of tape. Tape it down, going one direction. Another long section of tape. And if you want to work as a team, teams with this, partners, have someone help hold for you, and then you create, totally up to you. Cut. There is one layer of my cone. Now I'm going to make the second. For the second, I'm probably just going to wad it up, get it to the shape that I want first. And I'm going to take my big long section of tape, and again, this is the part that gets a little bit tricky, because if you're doing this on your own, or you can ask for help, tape it down to the top. Okay, you can see I have areas sticking out. So now what I need to do is I need to locate those, tape it going the next way. Okay, now I want to create the distinction of the different sections of ice cream scoops. So then I'm going to take a piece of tape, and this also helps secure it. And I'm going to tape going around, securing those pieces of tape down as I go. Okay, then I'm going to kind of restructure it, get it looking the way I want it to look. All right, looks good, it's secure. Now I'm going to start my mache. Before I start my mache, I'm going to get a Sharpie, write my name on the base of my cone. We will not be macheing the base. So with my Sharpie, I'm going to write my name on the base. Okay, name is on the base of the cone. Now the mache solution is a combination of flour and water. Flour has gluten in it, which is essentially when you add water to it, like glue. It's the glue that holds it together. So right now it's kind of like a thick liquidy. It almost looks like a pancake mix. When it dries, because it has the gluten in it, it hardens as it dries. So it's going to get super messy all over your hands. So before you start with the solution, you're going to take your section of newspaper and you're going to rip the entire section, so you have like a pile of ripped sections of newspaper to work with. If your hands get all gluey or all pasty and then you're trying to rip, it just becomes a super sticky mess. So we're going to be smart about it and prepare everything before we get going. So everyone is going to get one section of newspaper. That's all you'll need. Simply take strips, and I would say rip them about 2 inches wide. Okay, 2 inches wide by, and then rip that maybe into 3 different sections. About like that. So I'm simply ripping. Okay, 2 inches wide. All right, now I am ready to begin macheing. My recommendation is to begin at the top of the cone and work your way down. That way you have something to hold on to at the bottom that is not all mached and sticky. So here I have my sections, now I have my cone. What you're going to do is you're going to take the mache solution, you're going to dip it in. Now when you dip it in, it's going to come out all sticky. Take your finger and kind of like scrape as you go. Some of it may tear off, that's okay, don't worry too much about it. Scrape as you go, and then you're simply going to wrap it over the top of your cone. You can see all the drips getting all over the place. It is going to be messy, so do your best to scrape off the excess, and you're going to wrap it. Your hands are going to get messy. Just embrace it. You'll be able to wash your hands at the end. And you can see how I'm shaping it. I'm kind of like flattening it down as I go. Now I may want to run it going around, wrapping around. So first it's over the top, then we'll wrap it around a few times, making sure that I cover everything. So now I'm wrapping it around and simply working my way down. Working my way down the cone. I'm laying mine flat on the table so you have a better angle to view for the tutorial, but I recommend you working upright. If you're having trouble, I suppose you can lay it flat, but there we go. So I'm trying to create the distinction of the two ice cream scoops. Okay, looking pretty good. Now I'm going to start in on my base. Simply dipping. You can see now why it was so important to pre-section off my newspaper, because my hands are a mess, and if you're trying to rip the newspaper as you go, it's just way too difficult. All right, it's a fine balance of how much solution or how much paste, but not adding too much. So you definitely need enough on the newspaper to where it's going to stick and adhere to your ice cream base. But if you add too much, it's just gonna slip right off. So the newspapers will just start slipping down the cone, and it won't stick at all. So it's kind of a fine balance. You will discover that as you go. All right, so you have class time today to do these 2 steps. The first step is building your ice cream cone dry. And then the second step is to mache it so it is completely solidly covered like this. Once it's completely solidly covered like this, you can smooth it out. If you have a few extra strips, you can add a little bit of a second layer in some areas for strength. But again, for the second layer, I would recommend less of the mache solution, because if it gets too sticky, too thick with the paste, it starts to compromise the integrity of the paper underneath, and it'll start to kind of like wilt, so to speak. All right, so when your cone looks like this and you're all set, go ahead and bring it over. I'll have an area on the floor for it to dry, and then you will clean your table area. And then next week we will paint.